and the Lamb is a light, and the night is as black as a sea. Oh yes, there will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me. Well, the bear will be gentle, and the wolves will be tame, and the lion shall lay down by the lamb. Oh yes, and the beast from the wild shall be led by a child, and I'll be changed from this creature that I am. Oh yes, there will be peace in the valley for me someday. There will be peace in the valley for me. Oh Lord, I pray. There'll be no sadness, no sorrow, oh my Lord, and no trouble I see. There will be peace in the valley for me.
Ready or not, we all know that someday it will come to an end. There will be no more sunrises, no minutes, hours or days, no weeks, no terms, no holidays. All the things you collected, whether treasured or forgotten, will pass to someone else. It will not matter what you owned or what you were owed. The lesson plans, staff meetings, parent interviews and school politics that once seemed so important will fade away. The annual parade of fresh faces will end, and the noises of chattering children, shuffling feet and slamming lockers will be heard no longer. It won't matter how much you earned, the car you drove, or the street you lived on in the end. So what will matter? How will the value of your life be measured? What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is every act of dedication, passion, and example that enriched, empowered, and enlarged young minds. What will matter is not how many people you taught, but how many lives you touched. What will matter is the way you honoured your profession, loved the children, and supported your colleagues. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories of those who loved you. And what will matter is how long you'll be remembered, by whom, and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Choosing to teach is choosing to live a life that matters. Lynn Smith chose to teach, chose to dedicate her life to enriching and empowering young lives, and for this she will be forever remembered. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come together this afternoon to commemorate and honour the life of Lynette Elizabeth Smith, Lynn as she was known to you all, Auntie Tish as she was known to her family, a much-loved daughter, sister, aunt, niece and friend to everyone. My name is Denise Wotherspoon, and along with Brendan and the staff of Parkside Funerals, I am honoured to be leading this celebration of Lynn's life, to say goodbye to her in a loving and meaningful way. On behalf of the family and her dear departed friend Ed, I welcome you and thank you for being here to celebrate the life of this incredible woman. I also welcome all those who are watching online today, having been unable to join us in the chapel, especially Lynn's nephew, Philip, who is overseas at the moment, and her dear friends, Jan Gilly, Liz Butler, and Maren Campbell, and of course the wonderful folk from Lennon Brothers Circus. At the conclusion of our service, you are warmly invited to join the family at the Two Oaks Cafe in Somerset to enjoy refreshments, to share your memories and to support one another. So you are all here today because you have one really important thing in common. Your lives have been touched by the good fortune of having known Lynn. She was so incredibly special to you all, an inspiration to many of you, and I know she will never be forgotten. Our time together is an opportunity to share memories of the life and personality that was Lynn, a highly respected educator, respected by students, staff, and parents alike. Respected by colleagues who learnt so much from her guidance and skills. An adventurous, spontaneous, irreverent, lifelong learner who gave so much to so many. It is inevitable that you feel sadness today, but it is important to remember the good times and know that grief is a natural emotion when we lose somebody we love. You don't get over grief by forgetting. You get through grief by remembering. Grief is the final act of love that we can offer to those who have touched our hearts so deeply. It is the silent tribute, the unspoken testament to the bond we shared. In every tear shed, in every ache felt, there is love, raw, unfiltered, and enduring. Grief is not just sorrow, it is the echo of devotion, a reflection of how profoundly someone mattered. Grief is the weight of love with nowhere to go, a reminder that even in absence, our loved one's presence remains woven into the very fabric of who we are. The only cure for grief is to grieve. As you all know, and as we can see from the front of our chapel, Lynn was an avid gardener, and her niece Chantel has chosen a poem to share. Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you. In life's garden, count your garden by the flowers, never by the leaves that fall. Count your days by the golden hours, but don't remember the clouds at all. Count your nights by the stars, not by the shadows. Count your life with smiles, not tears, and with joy through all your life. Count your age by your friends, not by your years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantal. Beautiful words that I'm sure you can hear Lynn actually saying. Lynn lived her life to the full, never one to sit idle, never one to shun an adventure. A strong and vibrant woman. Her eulogy has been lovingly crafted by her niece Linda, and I now invite her forward to share Lynn's story. Thank you, Linda.
It is a difficult job to sum up such a rich and vibrant life, one that was so well lived. Our family have a long list of stories from which to share our perspective, but Lynn has close friends all over Australia. We hope that as part of today's celebration, you will take the time to share some of your memories with us as well. For now, I will try to do justice to the family's memories of Lynn, who we knew as Auntie Tish. The auntie with a wicked sense of humour, the keeper of family anecdotes, and the brilliant storyteller who could make the most mundane event into a tale worth recounting. No pressure, Lynn, but here goes. Lynn was born to Beryl and George Smith on the 31st of March 1944 in the Zeehan Hospital. She was the youngest of 3 siblings and the baby sister to my mother Peter and my uncle Don. She was affectionately known as Tish to the family, or as Auntie Tishu, to almost all of the youngest members of the family as they first learned to talk. No one remembers where this pet name came from, but it was bestowed upon her by her mother and remained with her all her life. Beryl's best friend Gwen came up from Hobart to help mind the 2 older children when Lynn was born. 4 months later, Auntie Gwen had her own baby, Jan. Jan is watching us today online, and she and Lynn have remained sister friends for life. Peter, the elder daughter, was quiet and well behaved. Don and Lynn were always up to mischief. West Coast life was Spartan. Times were financially tough, and the environment, well, you know the reputation of the West Coast weather. But Lynn's buoyant personality and sense of humour provided a spark to lighten the load. The children all had chores to do. As she often did, Lynn shared one of her earliest memories with us. She was outside the house, shaking the mats, and protesting to her mother who was inside the house, "You shouldn't have to shake mats on your birthday." But yes, she had to keep shaking the mats. It was most likely her 4th birthday. One of Don's chores was to milk the house cow. Sound romantic? Well, not so much when you have a cantankerous cow on a wet paddock. Don had to milk the cow into a cup and pour the milk into the bucket, because that particular cow had a habit of kicking over the bucket. Lynn's job was to hold the cow's wet tail out of the way. All good when things were going well, but a bit boring at times, and quite amusing to see what happens when you let go and Don gets a good whack from a wet and muddy tail. These early days were where she honed her skills for telling a joke. Her father would give his children a penny if they could tell a joke that would make him laugh. I bet she and Don earned many pennies. Years later, when we discussed this, she told me that to tell a joke, all you needed was to remember the punchline. But I fear she was wrong. To tell a good joke, you need to be able to spin a good yarn, drag people into the story, and then deliver the punch. Storytelling was one of her very special skills. Lynn's mother, Beryl, was a school teacher at the state-run primary school. However, Lynn and her brother and sister attended the local Catholic school, where they were taught by the Sisters of St. Joseph. Lynn had a few irreverent stories about school, including one where she thought she had killed one of the nuns. The children were all playing netball, and somehow Lynn managed to run into one of the teachers, knocking her to the ground. Thinking that she had killed the nun, she took off and hid until sometime later Peter managed to find her and explain that everything was actually all right. It was also very interesting for a small girl to get a look at the top of a nun's head. If you got a bit wrong in your sewing and then took it up to the front to show the teacher, she would bend her head down and you could get just a little peek at the top of her head where the veil was not quite joined, and you could see little bits of hair and hairpins. Anything to make school more interesting. And school in those days wasn't particularly inspiring. Her description of an art class went something like this. The students were instructed to use a ruler and draw a line across the middle of their paper. The paper above the line was to be coloured in blue. The paper at the bottom of the page was to be coloured in green. Once the colouring was complete, one of the older children went round to every child's desk and carefully drew a boat on the horizon for them. Art lesson complete. I understand that art lessons in high school were not much better. On declaring that she would like to be a painter when she grew up, she was told that she was not artistic, would never be good enough for that. What a mistake. Years later, that clearly incorrect sentiment was corrected. She produced some truly beautiful watercolours that I and other family members and friends have proudly hung on our walls. As the daughter of a school teacher, Lynn was destined to become a teacher herself, and as a young woman left the West Coast to board in Launceston and attend Teachers College. This was the start of an inspirational career as an educator. I can't speak directly to the quality of her teaching, but I do know that she earned a reputation as a talented teacher, and she believed passionately in giving every child the best start. She was one of the women who helped crack the glass ceiling for those that followed. After investing many years of hard work, she still found it difficult to achieve promotion because in those days, women were just not seen as principals. So she returned to study, undertaking a Bachelor of Education at university. With these qualifications and her fighting spirit, her talents were eventually recognised, and she received a well-earned promotion to school principal. Perhaps it was her West Coast background, and perhaps it was her respect for the children who were, as she put it, having a go despite everything. But almost all of her teaching career was spent in schools that were deemed difficult. She taught in many of the state's rural, remote and disadvantaged schools. We believe her first posting was to Hagley Farm School, and that the list included infant and primary schools in Penguin, Ulverston, Acton, Queenstown, Savage River and West Somerset. There may be more. The shenanigans of her youth continued into adult life. This tale out of school was passed to me by Liz, the daughter of her great friend Bessie Butler. In the 1960s, whilst teaching at Penguin Infant School, all of the teaching staff, which included Lynn, had a strong collegial friendship, and in some cases, familiar-like bonds that endured over many decades. Lynn's incorrigible sense of humour was well renowned. She often told of the hijinks the teaching staff would get up to in the lunchtime break. In particular, the time that she convinced Bessie, the infant mistress, to try on a ball gown that one of the staff had proudly sewn, and who was showing it to her fellow staff members. Bessie, with an equal sense of humour, did indeed try it on, and Lynn convinced her to walk up and down the empty staff corridor like a catwalk whilst the children were outside at lunchtime. Once Bessie was out of the room, Lynn closed and locked the door and left her desperately trying to get back in and out of the gown before the children returned from their lunch break. Liz's final comment rings so true. Lynn was always such a warm and friendly character, and I will always be grateful for her long-lasting friendship with my mother, Bessie. The shenanigans in the teaching staff rooms continued. A favourite anecdote of Megan's involves a male staff member, probably at Savage River, who liked to read the communal newspaper in depth, meaning that others, including Lynn, didn't get that quick glance through that they might want. One frustrating newspaperless day, as the recess period was coming to a close, Lynn noticed that someone had left their cigarettes and a lighter on the arm of the chair next to her. Lynn quietly picked up the lighter and, as she moved to leave the room, set fire to the corner of the newspaper. I can't do justice to how she described his reaction, so I will leave you to imagine her telling that story, and you can fill in that bit for yourselves. For Lynn, the people she loved came first, and if they needed something, she gave. I have a distant memory of Lynn having a friend who was dying from cancer. Lynn moved in with her and as her carer so that her friend could stay at home and not have to go into care. She also devoted many years' worth of school holidays to caring for her elderly parents. Her father, George, enjoyed good health for 94 years, but her mother, our grandmother, suffered from dementia in her later life. Lynn would selflessly give up school holiday after school holiday and come home to Zion to give her father George a break from caring duties and to give him time to spend developing his beloved museum. If you read between the lines, you will see how hard that actually must have been for an outgoing social soul when home had become a care home for someone who could no longer communicate. But her family needed her, and so she came. Going to stay with Auntie Tish in the school holidays was exciting but daunting. We knew it would be fun, but in those days she was also very strict. We quickly learned not to touch her beautiful scarlet velvet curtains or the perfect white walls, and not to play tomfoolery inside. But we also learned that those holidays would be full to the brim with adventures. We were taken to a seagull rookery to watch the chicks hatching. We were driven to Ulverston to play on the spaceship at the park. In the last days of passenger trains in Tassie, we were taken somewhere along the coast, maybe Deloraine, and with our mother put on the train while she drove back along the highway to pick us up again, probably in Ulverston. If trains were going to be a thing of the past, then her niece and nephews most definitely needed to experience train travel while it still lasted. At the same time, there were life lessons on responsibility to learn, and that it is important to know that actions have consequences. We were staying with her at Turner's Beach, somewhere right on the beachfront. Having returned home from an afternoon on the beach, it was discovered that one of my brothers had left his jumper on the sand. So we all trailed back down to the beach to find it. By then, the tide had come in and the jumper was floating out to sea. Without hesitation, she sent the poor boy into the cold chest-deep water to retrieve it. There was no real danger, the sea was calm, but the poor kid was soaked and cold. Lesson learned: if you stuff up, there will be consequences. That advice has stood us all in good stead and was also part of how she taught. Behave with integrity, respect, and treat others well, and you would have her support. The little things didn't matter, the focus would be on the big things. When a small boy in her school dyed his hair orange, many of the staff were aghast. Lynn's reaction to being told of this sin was, "What does it look like? Does it suit him?" But at the same time, at that same school, when she caught some of the older children bullying one of the girls, they were in all sorts of strife, with no uncertainty that actions have consequences. The travel bug hit Lynn early and hard. The first international trip we can remember her taking was probably to the UK when she was in her late 20s. It was probably with her friend Bessie. In all, she travelled to 41 countries and to every continent, including Antarctica. And when she stopped travelling internationally, she continued to travel in Australia. Her garden was always her pride and joy, and even more so when she moved into her retirement years. The first property that she bought herself was a unit in Mount Street, Upper Burnie. Each of the 4 units had its own tiny front garden and a small backyard. Unlike her neighbours, who filled their gardens with concrete and minimised what they needed to maintain, Lynn developed both back and front into amazing creations, full of roses and other cottage garden plants. Later, she moved to Curramore Avenue, where space, talent and creativity created a garden that was fit to feature in a magazine. Not that it was quite all her own plantings, because I know when the camellias flowered, she called the previous owner who had planted them to tell her how beautiful they were. Typical Lynn. Despite the work that must have gone into creating her garden, she was not always focused. One afternoon, having set herself the task of weeding a bed, it came to her attention that she was pulling dandelions. She had a friend along the coast who kept canaries, and canaries love dandelions. What better way to spend the afternoon than to drive along to visit the friend for coffee and take with her a bunch of dandelions? Frequently, she kept chickens. She would narrate to me the conversations that they were having with each other as they scratched and pecked in their run. But as much as she loved to watch them enjoying themselves, woe betide them if they strayed into the flower beds or dug dust baths in the lawn. She often kept animals as part of her teaching repertoire: baby chicks or ducks, baby goats. She strongly believed in the power of animals to teach children compassion, caring, and right from wrong. They were also a tool to show love to children when they most needed it. When their world was spinning on a wonky axis and they needed special comfort to help them make sense of it all, the animals were there to love. Growing up as children of a farmer, and much to my regret, we were not allowed to have pets of our own, but this disappointment was eased by the need for Tish's school animals to be babysat for the school holidays. Hence, we variously had guinea pigs, mice, and even once a mountain dragon lizard come to stay. Her most special pet was a wombat named William. He came into our lives as an orphan and was lovingly raised by Lynn. He went to school, and being a native animal, could even join the children when they went to school camp at Rocky Cape. For all the pets she kept, she only ever had one dog, Mac. He was originally a farm dog, belonging to her father. When her father passed away, Mac came to live in Burnie. It was through walking Mac past her neighbours' houses that she met the love of her life, Ed. Ed came into her life late in her teaching career. She described him as strong-willed and sincere man with strength, humour and a zest for life. She could have been describing herself. A perfect match. They travelled together, enjoying many adventures until sadly he passed, a life too short and a devastating loss for Lynn. But in her own words, you can only sit on the couch for so long. So she picked herself up and went travelling. After a few initial trips with friends, she joined Revive, the Retired Educators Volunteers for Isolated Students Education. And this led to teaching many outback students and eventually to her running away to the circus. That is, she became the school teacher for Stephanie and Joshua, the children of Tamara and Steve, the lion tamer. She loved living life on the road and went to every show, appreciating the way the circus folk included her in their extended family. She wasn't keen on being called Mrs. Lynn, but after 2 weeks of trying to correct this, she gave in and became Mrs. Lynn to everybody and stayed much, much longer than the 3 months originally intended. Lynn knew herself quite well. As an educator, she attended staff training and development sessions. She described one of these workshops in which they must have undertaken some form of personality testing to help describe the differences in people's character. And it involved a script description of how people store their coloured pencils. Some people always have a full packet of neatly ordered pencils. At the end of completing a task, they like to gather them up, put them back in the packet, sorted into colours and neat and tidy, ready for the next. Lynn was the other type. The type that looked at the pencils on the desk, opened the drawer, swept the mess into the drawer, closing it, saying, "What's next?" Lynn wasn't a great housekeeper. Any excuse would do for a change of plans. If the phone rang and someone said, "Come to lunch," she was off. She would never say no to the offer of a lunch date. You shouldn't say no, they might not offer again. This also applied to invitations to travel. Invite her to go on a cruise or come to Antarctica, and the answer was invariably, "Yes, please, when do we leave?" Lois's mother, Zernie, always said, "I love when Tish comes to visit. You never know where you will end up." She could turn her hand to anything, from woodwork to knitting, from crochet to embroidery, from painting to floral art. In that first unit in Mount Street, she had the most amazing scarlet velvet curtains. She made them herself. They were beautiful and they were beautifully made. The proof of her talent to take on any project can be seen in the stool that now resides in my own lounge. It is a comfortable stool that I have spent many hours sitting on while chatting with her. She made the stool from scratch, including not just the beautifully finished woodwork that includes a hinged top to an internal storage box, but also the tapestry sunflower cushion that is on top. Towards the end, compassion and service to others remained, even as her memory began to slip. She knitted ambulance bears for paramedics to give to children when they were transported, and she knitted hundreds of scarves. Yes, Megan and I counted them, to be donated to the hospital for the cancer patients who might have lost their hair. In her retirement, she was a member of almost every club or organisation on the Northwest Coast. In truth, they were a vehicle for a spontaneous, gregarious and independent woman to keep her social life as active as possible. She was our own person. We trust you remember her fondly and hope that you are happy to share your memories with family when we meet later at Two Oaks.
Thank you, Linda. Your Auntie Tish definitely was an incredible woman. We now have the privilege to view a collection of photos that the family have put together depicting aspects of Lynn's life. They've chosen Looking Forward, Looking Back by Slim Dusty and My Way by Elvis Presley to accompany these.
Looking forward, looking back, I've come a long way down the track, got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know, making sense of what I've seen, all the love we've had between you and I along the track, looking forward, looking back. There are strange days full of change on the way, but we'll be fine. Unlike some, I'll be leaning forward to see what's coming, looking forward, looking back. I've come a long way down the track, got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know. If I'm alone at night, I can see through all triviality of the day, and I'm okay. I just think of those who are dear to me, looking forward, looking back. I've come a long way down the track, got a long way left to go, making songs from what I know, making songs from what I know, looking forward, looking back.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I traveled each and every byway, oh, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, oh, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up, hell, and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me, I did it my way. For what is a man, what has he got, if not himself, then he has not to say the words he truly feels, and not the words, yeah, what it is. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way.
She certainly did live life to the full, didn't she? Beautiful inside and out. One of Lynn's favourite pieces of writing was the beautiful piece of prose written in 1927 by the American writer Max Ehrman, Desiderata, which is in your service sheet. It's a piece of writing that offers practical advice for navigating life's challenges, and it emphasises maintaining inner peace amidst the external noise and hassle of life. Lynn's nephew Andrew is going to share it with us now. Thank you, Andrew.
Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labours and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy.
Thank you, Andrew. It is an amazing piece of writing and one that we know Lynn lived by. And as it says, be happy. Even in death, we know that Lynn would want us to be happy. And as we have celebrated her life, we now need to set her free as she travels on into a new day. We will always remember her and all that she has given to us during her life, and we will always value who she was for us. As is often said, a teacher affects eternity. It is impossible to tell where their influence stops. And this is surely true of Lynn. It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, to lay this much-loved, beautiful lady to rest. Would you all please stand? Lynn, the many people whose lives you have touched will remember you with deep affection and warmth. The story of your life is ended, but the part you played in theirs continues to affect the people you cared about. May your love be reflected in all who knew you, and may you continue to live on through the lives of those you leave behind. Your legacy lies in the love you held for the most vulnerable in our community, the huge number of students you cared for, and the many colleagues you mentored. Your wit and wisdom will also be remembered fondly. And so it is into the freedom of wind and sunshine that we will let you go. Into the dance of the moon and planets, we let you go. Into the wind's breath and the hands of the star maker, we let you go. And into the sadness and smiles of our memories, we let you go. And holding the thoughts of Lynn in your hearts means for you that death ends a life, not a relationship. And so, Lynn, we ask that you go now with all our love, as tenderly and reverently we yield your body to be cremated, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Thank you for all that you were and all that you gave. Go safely, go with love in your heart, and may you forever be at peace. And we leave you with some of your favourite lyrics. It's all right, it's okay, doesn't really matter if you're old and grey. It's all right.
It's alright, it's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're old and gray. It's alright, I say it's okay. Listen to what I say. It's alright, doing fine. Doesn't really matter if the sun don't shine. It's alright, I say it's okay. We're getting to the end of the day. I take low tech, take your pick, 'cause you can't teach an old dog a brand new trick. I don't care what everybody says. At the end of the day, there's a place that I can't find, a drink or two to ease my mind. Golden days. It's alright, take your time. Everybody thinks that you passed your prime. It's alright, it's okay. You still got plenty to say. It's alright, it's okay. Doesn't really matter if you're old and gray. It's alright, I say it's okay. Listen to what I say. It's alright, doing fine. Doesn't really matter if the sun don't shine. It's alright, I say it's okay. We're getting to the end of the day. I take low tech, take your pick, 'cause you can't teach an old dog a brand new trick. I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, there's a place that I can't find, a drink or two to ease my mind. Golden days. It's alright, take your time. Everybody thinks that you passed your prime. It's alright, it's okay. You still got plenty to say.